What? Wisconsin ranked 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 4 of the Jordan Dad Show, episode number 2. Today we are going to do our top 25, the Jordan Dad Show top 25. As always, I'm joined by Easy Eddie from Sea Cruise Sports. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm great.
That's good to hear. We're also going to be previewing the first meaningful football game since Tom Brady and the Patriots scored 13 points and somehow won the Super Bowl by only scoring 13. If you told me that before the Super Bowl, I wouldn't have believed you. Anyway, that's NFL. That's irrelevant. Let's get back to college football. First, with our Jordan Dad Show top 25 and how we compiled this year. We combined our two top preseason top 25s. Easy Eddie already showed his on the Sea Cruise Sports channel, but I have not shown mine yet. And I'll tell you mine as we go along, but for now, we're going to start off with the Jordan Dad Show top 25. I combined our rankings, took the average ranking of each team, and ranked them by average ranking. If we had a scenario where two teams had the same average ranking, I took the highest ranking a single team had. So if Oregon was 9 in my poll, but 12 in his poll, and Washington was 10 in my poll, and 11 in his poll, then Oregon would get the nod because they had the higher ranking out of either of them than Washington did. And if that didn't work, like Clemson and Alabama per se, I just had whoever won the most recent game between the two teams take the spot ahead. So let's get into our top 25 right now. There are 4 teams who just barely missed the cut. Army and Boise State from your poll, and Stanford and Virginia from my poll did not make our top 25. Make a quick case for Army and Boise State. Why do you think they should have been in the top 25?
Well, Boise State is returning players, and they not only that, but they did decent last year. And I think that quarterback is key there. Air it out offense. They just have magic. Number one, they've had it for several years. Army has an impressive ground game, which teams nowadays have trouble stopping the ground game when they have so many people that can run the ball fresh. And then on top of that, when they do throw the ball, last year, and they're bringing these people back, they average about 20 yards per throw.
Interesting stat there. And yeah, Army doesn't throw the ball a lot, but when they do, it does surprise the defense a lot. Right. They're not really expecting it. They have a game against Michigan this year, which could be interesting. Can't wait for that game. Again, that'll be a pretty fun one to watch. So let's get to our top 25 right now. First with 21 through 25. At 25, somehow the Northwestern Wildcats squeaked in to our top 25. I didn't have the Wildcats ranked at all, and they are not ranked in the AP poll either. And then at number 24, we have Miami, a team that I had ranked in my poll, I believe, at 19. You didn't have them ranked at all, but their average ranking came out to about, I think, like 20, what would that make it, like 23 and a half or something. And so they do just squeak in at 24. And they are not ranked in the AP poll either. Virginia Tech 23 is what we have. They're not ranked in the AP poll either. So far, the first 3 teams, 23-25, are not even in the AP poll. But at 22, in 21, we have Wisconsin and Nebraska, respectively. Wisconsin is 19 in the AP poll. 24 is where Nebraska is in the AP poll. So quick reaction for 21 through 25.
Well, 21 through 25, you could make a good case for 10 different versions of the bottom 5, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that week number 3 really weeds out the bad picks. And you'll see I promise you'll see a few teams get bumped. If not 4 out of the 5.
Right.
One of those teams, if they lose their first game, they're out and they won't be back for a long time, and that's Nebraska. And I feel the same way about Virginia Tech. So those are the 2 that kind of surprised me as to. But yeah, I mean, no, it's it's the top 15 that really matter. I think.
16 through 20. At 20, we have Iowa, and that's exactly what AP poll has them as well. 19, we have Missouri. Missouri is not ranked in the AP poll, so I think, what is that, 4 out of 6 teams so far that we have ranked that the AP does not. UCF at 18 is where we have, and they are 17th in the AP poll. Michigan State at 17 is where we have them. They're 18th in the AP poll, and we have Auburn at 16, same as the AP poll. UCF is a team that I had them at 25. You had them at 15. Why are you so high on UCF this year?
Well, UCF has not had a bad year in an entire recruiting rotation class. They've seen, well, not an entire class, but I mean close to it.
Close to it,
and,
yeah.
And we're about to see whether or not this school stays for real. And I think they will, because last year, the brand new coach took them with one loss. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how well they will do this year.
11 through 15, speaking of the teams I gave you the example earlier, Oregon and Washington line up at 11 and 12. I'm doing this backwards from how we used to do it, but we're already doing it, so screw it. Texas comes in at 13. I had them 9th. You had them 16th. We'll get to that in a second. We have Utah at 14 and Penn State at 15. You've never really been high on Texas. Go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit. Why did you have them all the way down at 16?
Well, in my perspective, this is me having them up at 16 because I believe that when you take, although let me take a step back.
You're just a hater.
I think, yeah, I have a little bit of hate for Texas Longhorns. I've never liked them. Except Vince Young was amazing. I have to give him props, but Texas I think is a fluke. That's the reason why. Because if you watch them play, they don't have that. I don't know. I really don't have a reason. So if I'm completely right, it's one big guess. If I'm completely wrong, it's
right
video coming out.
Yeah. They are 10th in the AP poll, so the AP clearly agrees with me over you. I had them one spot higher at 9. I think over Notre Dame is where I had them. Yeah, I had Notre Dame at 13, actually. Notre Dame is a team that I'm not high on. But speaking of Notre Dame, let's get to 6 through 10. At number 10, we have Texas A&M. I don't know if they'll end up as a top 10 team, but I do think they are a top 10 team. And the reason I say that I don't think they will end up as a top 10 team is because they have some guaranteed tough games against Clemson, Bama, and Georgia this year. I don't know if they're going to win any of those games. Like if you saw my last video, the 10 teams with the most pressure on them, A&M is one of them, and I think getting a win against one of those 3 teams will be huge for them. We have Notre Dame at 9. Again, not a huge Notre Dame guy. Don't really think they're a top 10 team, but they do end up in our top 10. They're also 9 in the AP poll. Florida has 8 in both the AP poll and our poll. And LSU and Michigan go 7 and 6 respectively, and they're flip-flopped in the AP poll. Which is a little bit surprising to me because I've seen a lot of people even put Michigan as high as 4. Tell me why the AP is, why you think at least the AP may not be as infatuated with Michigan as the rest of the world is.
Well, they struggle. They do have a tough schedule this year. So I think in the preseason top 25, the schedule is not really a main point for considering where you're going to put them. But if you put them really high, like top 1, 2, or 3, or 4, then the problem is that you're going to have to rank them over Ohio State, who, in turn, has beat Jim Harbaugh every year he's been there. So that's the reason why, I think.
Gotcha. And, LSU's never really had an offense, so that's why I had them. I think I had them at 7 as well. Once I see an offense, they're going to be the best team in the West, in the SEC West. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, when it comes to LSU, so LSU, it's been, 10 years since they've been a true force. They even had Leonard Fournette. LSU reminds me of Wisconsin of the Big Ten.
Kind of, yeah.
And you can't really bank on them to do anything spectacular because of their competition, which means as a program, they're not as good as people think they are.
Totally agree with that. I think they are an elite program. It's just getting over that hump of Alabama every year has been
It's that and Georgia.
Yeah, it's been tough for them, and I think they've lost 8 in a row to Bama. So once they beat Bama, then I'm going to believe in LSU again. I like the team. I want them to do well, but I just need to see results. Top 5, here we go. These are easily the top 5 programs in the nation right now. We have Oklahoma 5, Ohio State 4, Georgia 3, Bama 2, and Clemson 1. Ohio State and Oklahoma are flip-flopped in the AP poll, but everything else is the same with the top 3, Clemson, Bama, Georgia. You have Ohio State at 3 in your poll, which is pretty interesting to me. Why do you think they're better than Georgia and Oklahoma, at least at this moment?
Well, I think you're going to see, like, if Ohio State can do what they should do, which is beat everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Then which is kind of what's, like, in my book, that's predicted. It's the thing. So I really believe that Ohio State at this time is worthy. So who else are you going to put at number 3 over Ohio State? Because where did they end up last year?
3.
They ended up number 3 last year.
Yeah. And Oklahoma's got a new quarterback too. Ohio State has another new quarterback.
That's the only question mark, and I know that people are hating on Justin Fields, but I think that how many times have you seen a freshman or a redshirt freshman quarterback come in for Ohio State brand new and not be ready to play from game 1?
No, I can admit when JT Barrett came in as a redshirt freshman in 2014, he struggled the first couple of games, especially against Virginia Tech. Obviously, that's one of the low points of that season, but we did still end up going to win the national championship anyway. He regained his form, and I could argue he was the best quarterback in the nation until he broke his ankle against that team up north in Michigan. So I'll say Michigan. I'm not talking to Ohio State fans, fellow Ohio State fans. So, but yeah, he played well that freshman year. After the Virginia Tech game, everything was up from there. And so I wouldn't be shocked if Justin Fields experienced some growing pains early on. I think against Cincinnati, I wouldn't be shocked if he got off to a really slow start in that game.
I have that. I hate to interrupt you, but I have to do it while I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I have Ohio State either playing really close to Cincinnati or getting beat by Cincinnati because of that reason. Well, that's one of the reasons, but that's probably the main reason.
Right, and I don't think Florida Atlantic's, despite Lane Kiffin being there, we love Lane Kiffin.
Don't even miss me with that name. Dude,
no, they're not even gonna be really much of a challenge for Justin Fields. I think Cincinnati's gonna be his wake-up call. I still think Ohio State will easily win that game, but I think somewhere in the first half there, he's gonna get a wake-up call to be like, hey, people are gonna come after you this year because of the lack of depth that Ohio State has at quarterback because of all the transfers. So it'll be interesting to see how Justin Fields handles the expectations. But
yes, it will be.
But that is our top 25 in the real AP poll. Did you have any problems with the real AP poll? Obviously, with Nebraska being in and Northwestern left out, which I think is the most hilarious thing on the planet because you are not high on Nebraska this year.
Well, I think aside of my personal opinion, just take a look at Northwestern's defense and take a look at Nebraska's defense. Take a look at the question mark that Northwestern has with 5-star quarterback. But Northwestern has not had a 5-star quarterback in their program that I ever know of. So I get it because it's a smaller school, but man, I don't understand. I really don't get Nebraska. They're 4-8 2 years in a row. Ugh.
And I don't like this notion. I think I said this in the Big Ten preview, but I don't like this notion with Northwestern that they're going to be worse without Clayton Thorson. I get it. He put up a lot of stats, but Clayton Thorson, I think, is more on Hunter Johnson. I think Hunter Johnson has the potential to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten, even over Justin Fields, just because of the system that he's in. And there's a little less pressure on him than there is for Justin Fields. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Hunter Johnson handles the spotlight this year in those big games. Northwestern's got a couple big games right off the bat against Stanford. They play Ohio State at home. They play, I think, they go on the road against Nebraska. I mean,
They have a really tough schedule.
It's going to be an interesting year for Hunter Johnson and the rest of the Northwestern Wildcat squad.
Can we talk about Michigan real quick?
Yeah, go ahead real quick, and then let's.
So Michigan has a great chance this year if they can beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten championship to be conference winner. Man, that would be, if they're top 4, right? Maybe one loss, that they're getting into the playoffs. As to where last year you got a one-loss Ohio State gets bumped because they lose to Purdue. And then they play Northwestern in the Big Ten Championship. Now, if Michigan plays Northwestern again this year, well, now Northwestern's a more legitimate team. They've won the West 2 years in a row. And I think that if Alabama, Clemson have a loss, Michigan's getting in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I totally agree there. I've heard a lot of people say that because of the Georgia-Alabama thing, and that the schedules for each could mean they each have a loss maybe in the regular season. I know it's weird saying that Bama will lose in the regular season, but one of them could be a 2-loss team, and that could open the door for maybe a Big Ten or a Pac-12 team to possibly come out of their conference there. So that's about it with our top 25. No real problems I don't think we have with the AP poll anyway. Obviously, it's a preseason ranking, so it'll probably be completely different within the next couple of weeks or so. But let's get into the big game this weekend. If you saw us on the Secret Sports channel, we said that this was the number 1 game of all the opening games for the college football season. Let's get to it. Florida versus Miami. And that will conclude episode 2 of the Jordan and Dad Show for the 2019 college football season. Next week, we will have our official week 1 preview. Cannot wait to get that out for you guys. Any last words for the people at home?
Nah, you know what? Less than 48 hours away. I can't wait. That I say, daddy-o wow.
All right, see you guys next week.